Hi everybody, this is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Today we're talking about onions and what it is about them that makes our eyes tear so much and burn so much when we cut into them. And I've got some tips on what we can do to help to minimize that effect. Okay, so I know it will help me and hopefully it will help you along the way. Now first of all, what is it about onions that causes this problem? When onions are growing, they collect sulfur from the soil around and they create a compound that can easily turn into a gas. And the purpose of this is self-preservation. It helps to deter insects and animals from eating the onion bulb so it can survive and grow on to be an onion. When we cut into an onion, the cell walls are damaged and that releases that sulfur compound along with enzymes within the cells that react together and create a gas. The gas comes up and it interacts with the water in our eyes and creates sulfuric acid. Oh, and that hurts, it burns, it stings. And in our own defense mechanism to try to flush that out, we create a lot of tears to flush out that sulfuric acid from our eyes. And that's why we cry when we cut onions a lot of times. Now it's helpful to know that the yellow onions, white onions, and red onions have more of that particular compound in it than do the sweet onions and green onions, also known as scallions. So you might notice that your eyes will tear more when you cut the white, the yellow, or the red onions, and you're not so bothered by cutting the green onions or vidalias or Walla Walla onions, something like that. So now what can we do to help to minimize this effect? There are some things here. First of all, you can place the onion either in the refrigerator or in the freezer first to chill it down before you go to cut it. If you put it in the freezer about 30 minutes or so, you don't want to freeze it, you just want to really chill it down. If you put it in the refrigerator, give it a couple hours and that will help to chill it down. The reason for this is the optimal temperature for the onion enzymes to do their job of protecting the bulb from predatory damage is 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So the more we chill the onion, the further it is away from that temperature. And that temperature is not far from our body temperature. So that's why we have a tendency to react to that sulfuric compound when it gets into our eyes. So if we chill the onion down first, it should help to minimize the effect because there's a greater difference between the optimal temperature and the current temperature of that onion. Another thing we can do is to refrain from cutting the root end until last or at all. Now first a little onion anatomy. If you can tell, you've got roots that grew out at this end. So that's obviously the root end, and that was on the bottom when it was in the ground. And this is the stem end, and this is where the greenery came up and out of the soil. Okay, so we've got top and bottom, root end. On the root end is where we have a higher concentration of those sulfuric compounds. So when we cut the onion, if we cut it starting with the stem end first and just kind of leaving the root end pretty much intact as much as possible, maybe like an inch up from the actual root remnants that are there, you'll have less of that compound being released. So you want to try to cut it from the stem end first and leave this other part alone. Now, as I mentioned earlier, sweet onions have less of that sulfur compound in them, which means when you cut a sweet onion, you're less likely to have a lot of problems with your eyes tearing. And sweet onions will work in just about any recipe in place of yellow onions, red, or white onions. So if you can find sweet onions and you want to buy sweet onions and you don't like this tearing problem, then opt for sweet onions when you go shopping, and that should help to minimize your problem right there. Another alternative is to kiss it, keep it simple, and that would be to buy already pre-cut frozen onions. Then you don't have to worry about cutting them. You just take them out and use them as you would in a cooked dish. If you buy frozen onions, they're not going to work real well in a raw application because they're going to be mushy when they thaw out. But if you're going to cook with them, if you buy the frozen ones already cut up, the work is done. Easy peasy, no tearing, okay? Another thing you can do when all else fails, they do have onion goggles out there, and they might look kind of funny, and you might not be able to wear them if you wear glasses all the time like I do. But onion goggles are an option, and you could also use swimming goggles. You could also use laboratory safety glasses kind of things to help to protect your eyes. And that may not do a 100% job, but it certainly will be some improvement. So I do hope this helps you out. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. This is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Bye for now.